Uh, how will you prefer? First, we introduce ourselves, or first I introduce the day-long exercise? Maybe we introduce ourselves. So I start with me and then we go around. I am Vijay Pratap. I am in Democratic Socialist Movement since 1968, and since for today's context, since 1987, we have sort of in political partnership in the politics of discourse primarily with the Finnish civil society. At that time when the partnership began, it was called Third World Connection in Finland. Then there was an India group formed in Finland, and there used to be this took about 10 years of debate, that the usual NGO kind of partnership between civil society is not always adequate, and it has some limitations of reinforcing the elite structures of polity, and doesn't move to the politics of last person, and does not empower the processes and institutions which do politics for the marginalized majorities. So the overall partnership should involve a kind of time and resource input for knowing each other's political context in greater depth, and working with groups and individuals who are trying to who have a greater gestation period in producing the finished product in tangible terms, in terms of service delivery to the poor, or in terms of big successful workshops, those kinds of things. So with that idea, we first started with the exchange program, which was started with Lokayan this side. There was no transfer of money, but resources were spent a great deal. People from here used to be sent to Finland to meet the various member organizations of KEPA. KEPA is a big federal organization of grassroots groups there, and from there activists used to come, and there was a newsletter initiated by one of the green feminist socialist activists there, Marco Ulvila. He was the first exchange activist, and he started a newsletter from India. So those who went from India, they also wrote their experiences, and this all resulted, this was 87 to 98. Between this period, a lot of senior activists like Auti Hakarainen, Thomas Walgreen, Risto Isomaki, Mary, what is her second name? Kuivasalo. These people debated and wrote articles on redefining the whole mainstream development cooperation, as well as the globalization process which was happening, had begun to happen. And then in when was Semenpu registered?
1998.
98. So so those debates resulted in many things. One of the consequence of that was that Parliament set up a committee to recommend what kind of civil society cooperation should be there, and it recommended that there should be 3 foundations of a different kind, in the sense of similar to each other, 3 different dimensions of collaboration: one on human rights, one on physically challenged special need organizations and individuals, and third on ecological issues and globalization and ecological issues. Although the mission statement not available in English at the moment, but that is very comprehensive kind of statement. And it has one of the mottos like the negative impact of foreign funding on voluntary sector, which is a big hotly debated topic here today, and globalization and critique of globalization. So that's a kind of proximity of the concerns between the Finnish civil society and Indian civil society, which is reflected. Then our financial relationship with CMPU started with the WSF process in India, which started in 2001, and till 2006 basically it continued around SEDET's, and we called the group called South Asian Dialogues on Ecological Democracy, and we used the network created during this period, which was called Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Our project and its boundary to have some kind of semblance of boundaries. It was called SEDET, South Asian Dialogues on Ecological Democracy, and it was located at a social science interdisciplinary think tank, Center for the Study of Developing Societies, with a view to produce enabling knowledge which is sustainable, which is democratic, which is participatory in an inclusive and participatory manner through dialogues on these issues of sustainable development and other issues as they come up. So this process then resulted after there was a slowdown in the larger civil society sector of the WSF process in India, but SEDET continued in a small way its contribution, especially in Nepal. We had several meetings on World Social Forum issues. Then from 2006-07, our focus started on from 2006-07 onwards, our focus has been on issues of larger ecological crisis and issues of alternative development, redefining development, but not isolating them into a special environmentalist issue, but linking them with other dimensions of democracy. For example, the way there is polarization between the agriculture and Yadavs and Jatavs, to put it in a reductionist fashion, in UP politics, will not allow a kind of holistic view on rural economy in UP if the polarization is very sharp, and that is what has happened. And before election, the Dalit groups used to be very hesitant about criticizing Mayawati government on its drift and corruption. But post-election, now others are keeping quiet when there have been lot of Dalit atrocities and burning of the houses of Dalit community. Now, if the social polarization of these marginalized these are minded, they are low energy consuming communities. They are the artisan communities, they are the agricultural communities, and agriculture communities in India, 60% is rain-fed and 90% holdings are very small holdings, which ecologically are very sort of sound in the sense they are not high energy intensive inputs, they don't require. If it becomes chemical agriculture, then also it becomes IATSing. Then also it becomes unviable. In this way, if we think of sustainability, we have to think of rural economy, where such a large proportion of our population lives, and rural economy is divided between Dalits and OBCs and the absentee peasants, who are not big peasants, but they belong to the middle class and upper sections outside villages, and they are not bothered about the agriculture crisis per se, because then whatever they get or they don't get, eventually if the land is taken over by corporates, the big money is given. So for sustainability issues, this discrimination against Dalits, anxiety of Muslim minorities, which are again a majority of them are artisan and skilled communities in India. So with this kind of view, what we have come to realize is that even for politics of sustainability, the larger ecological crisis has to be understood and kept in mind for any meaningful intervention, and the social and cultural any social and cultural dimension has also to be kept in mind. So the for that the challenge is very complex. It requires a lot of organizational effort, it requires a lot of intellectual clarification of issues, it requires a lot of organizational efforts to build up alliances, and it requires a lot of struggles, non-violent, peaceful struggles also. But SADET obviously cannot do that all. So SADET has sort of limited itself to through a participation with the various elements. I just put my phone on pager. SADET has consciously limited itself into SADET has one is SADET Resource Center. So I would rather say SADET Resource Center has limited itself to sort of producing enabling knowledge for these movements, not through research in some ivory tower situation, but through a participatory mode. So the one example of this is three of my colleagues from Nepal are sitting here. They are all Rajen Singh, Manoj and Jeet. They are all from the neighboring district of Pithoragarh, that is Betadi naam hai na, Betadi. And with them we had series of meetings on two issues. First we started with the discrimination against Dalits, and second was how to have a bottom-up planning, dignified livelihoods on that. And the last fourth meeting resulted after series of informal meetings and some formal meetings. The fourth meeting which took place the fourth formal meeting which took place in Kathmandu with the support of another NGO of Shobha Gautam, our colleague in Kathmandu. What is the name of the organization? ERICON. ERICON का full form क्या?
It's media and human rights पे काम करते हैं.
Okay. So Shobha Gautam, who is she is also a leading activist, and she is also involved in South Asia Peace Alliance. She had hosted that meeting, SADET's Nepal meeting, which of the Dalit segment, which in itself is a alliance of four Dalit organizations based in Nepal, and three of the friends from two of the networks friends are here. Today there is a meeting happening in all the Dalit MPs in Nepal, Constituent Assembly member. They are meeting in Nepal today, how to have the Dalit share in the constitution making. They are ensuring the clauses which will sort of ensure the inclusion of Dalits at a dignified and at an equal footing they are discussing this today. So what I was trying to say is that this sustainability issue, how to go about rural economy empowerment process. In Nepal, we had these 4 meetings, and the last meeting resulted in a paper by one constituent assembly, honorable constituent assembly member, Mr. Purun Singh Dayal, and he presented a written paper in Nepali, in which lot of activists and senior media people and those who sort of so far had faith in, almost a blind faith in science and technology and modern development. So they felt initially very easy. Oh, it is like going back and it is sticking to old technologies. But then there was very important, very good discussion on that, and we now intend to continue that work in SEDET. In this way, now this does not involve direct kind of mobilization for some agitation. It involves intellectual work, but not the formal academic sense at all. It involves intellectual work through illiterate people who practice life of sustainability, of low energy consumption in their personal lifestyle. Their livelihood are low energy embedded livelihoods. So can they survive? Can there be national macro policy support? So after those series of meetings, we also met the 3 former finance ministers of Nepal. Mr. Baburam Bhattarai, now the Prime Minister, I spoke to him and I told him that was on 23rd of January. Then on 11th of January we had a discussion with the 2 former finance ministers, Surendra Pandey, who was finance minister in UML, and the other Dr. Ramsaran Mahat, who has been economist and finance minister in the Congress government, and probably once in coalition, that I am not sure. So we discussed them that you seem to totally agree. If we content analyze your speeches in the IMF World Bank forums, which are already there on the website, and the 4th finance minister of again Maoist party, Varsha Manpun, who is supposed to be from other faction, not Baburam Bhattarai, he also totally agrees with Ramsaran Mahat and Baburam Bhattarai. So there is a kind of global consensus of the governing elite on pursuing the present dominant model, which is not sustainable. So on one hand we have COP conferences on climate crisis. On other hand, we continued with the same development model, same economic model. So how do we reconcile this? So and we are not strong enough even to put these questions in a forceful manner where it would hurt them politically. So what SEDET is trying to do that is do this kind of research on various topics through participation of ordinary people and activists and NGOs and think tanks and policy planners. And for India, our goal is in next and we were when we started this work in 2006-7, we were very hopeful, but now I am let me say, not our goal is, our goal was when we started, I am very skeptical about our abilities now, whether we'll be able to realize that goal or not, that we will have some very good policy papers on sustainability, sustainable possibilities on agriculture, on energy policy, on river and flood management systems, and on dignified livelihood bottom-up planning for the rural economy. So, sustainable rural economy. These topics in terms of macro principles, in terms of principle in terms of perspective at a macro level, we are still confident that in next year and a half we will be able to produce these things. But in terms of concrete district level planning, which we had hoped earlier, about 10 to 20 district constituency in India, at many places Lok Sabha constituency and districts are congruent units. They are nearly the same. So, but we had the Lok Sabha constituency in mind, and we thought if we will be able to have about 10 constituencies, People's Manifesto, bottom-up one, then we will be able to impact, and that done through a process of participation of social movements, of experts, of retired pro people, bureaucrats, policy planners, and various kinds of area specialists, and the whole generalist, which are also academics and which are social scientists and which are also political social workers. So, but now we are not sure whether we'll be able to reach this goal or not. We still will retain this as our target. Why we are not sure is also very important to share with you all, is that our economists, whom we think in quotes as our, their public identification is with the movements of the alternative, their critique of the establishment, they refuse their membership if they are invited to become member in the planning commission. So they also in a sort of deeper sense share the same development model perspective. So when it comes to concretes, it takes really hard effort, which is sometimes requires emotional courage to relearn some of the things which we have imbibed, and relearn some of the things which we have thought are obsolete. You know, even just simple water management system, the water ponds, oh, they contribute to pollution and this and that. But how we have messed up our water systems, our sanitation systems. In last year, 20,000 crore was spent by the Central Ministry of Rural Development on total sanitation program. On what topic? Behavior change, that people should not go to fields for toilet. Now the kind of messing up we are doing in the of the clean water and its scarcity in cities, and without doing the thinking in a holistic manner, if we spend just 20,000 crores, we give to consultants. Okay, how the behavior should be changed and people should stop going to the fields and should have a toilet with flush water, which is so irrational and wasteful. And there is a small project in Delhi IIT of eco-sanitation toilets, and where excreta and urine is separated, and urine can generate fertilizer very economically. But that project will remain there in the name of sustainability, and the overall macro policy will continue in the opposite direction. Similarly, you know, there is supposed to be a very good government in Bihar, but on river flood management policy, same irrational embankments will continue, which will cause problem to those who are between embankments and also those who are in that area which is supposed to be protected. So these kinds of irrational development packages which we have been used to, our engineers, our economists, our social scientists, our public health experts, they find it very hard to think in a kind of holistic fashion. So, and SADET also does not have the intellectual resources or even the political resources to bring such diverse sectoral specialists to come together and produce some kind of holistic alternative development manifesto. So the strategy which we have adopted is that we try to forget as much as possible the branding as said it, and we also try and forget the national boundaries, at least in case of South Asia, and try to think holistically for the entire eco-cultural zone, the southern watershed of Himalayas, and then bottom-up planning in terms of planning for the empowerment and well-being of the entire populations in a sustainable development model, without forgetting the larger ecological crisis which is happening, and consciously trying to forget the pressures which the aspiration of regional power and the global power and the BRICS power and trying to be on the big table at G20 and then G8 observer to have a different kind of destructive development model. So how to create a rupture with that development model and contribute globally to our responsibility towards responding to larger ecological crises on water, on climate, on energy, and issues of justice in whether it is in energy or water or or in climate crisis, the carbon space, the space in the global context. So these are various issues on which various think tanks and आइए माननीय सांसद महोदय। दास जी सर, फिल्म दिया आपने ऋतु जी? कितनी देर हो गई आपको आए? स्वागत है। Friends who are not television watchers, for them Honorable Member Parliament Pradeep Tamta is there, and if I explain now, he has ceased to be an MP and has become a phenomenon in a party. So one, it will be embarrassing for him if I go into the details how he has become a phenomenon, and it might undermine his position in his party. But it's during lunch and tea time we discuss what kind of historical paradigm shift he has created in the internal democracy of the ruling party, which is the dominant party in the ruling alliance. And we are all very thankful that he has been associated with the both the components of SADC work, the South Asian Alliance of the Marginalized Majorities, including the Dalit communities, and also the bottom-up planning for sustainability in Himalayas. And the last Himalaya Day action, we have that CD with us, which we can share, and those of you who understand Hindi will realize that it was not just this business of Chief Minister of Uttarakhand. Even before, on larger long-term issues, his position was representing the concerns on the ground, irrespective of the fact whether they contribute his power within the parliamentary context or disempowerment or empowerment. His commitment remains to the empowerment of the people and to the issues of sustainability in Himalayas. That CD is with us, and we are willing to share it with you all. And it's also so I'll be concluding soon. Pradeep ji, before you came, I was you have to chair this session. So I have given them the background of what the SADED role has been in terms of bottom-up planning and redefining the development model and how limited SADED is. So in that context, we want people like you to help us to build broader alliances with the pro-people, intellectuals, policy planners, retired planning board members and the retired underemployed political leaders who can help us develop a holistic view about development. And also since Himalayas has been your central concern, so Himalaya and you have sort of centrally initiated on your own and in your election campaign, and whenever SADED has bothered you, you have always found time to come. In our Beyond Copenhagen coalition also you have played a crucial role, and your colleague P.D. Rai also. So basically next fortnight or 20 days we are trying to approach all our resource persons and our friends so that we formulate our perspective for next 3 years and concrete plan for next 1 year. And so the purpose of this meeting is more discussing the problem issues, how to go about in a dialogic and in a alliance building fashion, so that our grooved thinking of reinforcing the destructive development model, we move away from that, and let's say in a year and a half, if we have some 20 constituencies in the country where we are able to produce People's Manifesto, then we can build a national consensus on some critical issues like climate crisis, like saving the Himalayas. And Himalaya, we would like to make it a global concern also, in which you have already taken lead and we are a willing partner. So this kind of mutuality, how shall we develop that? So that is, so it's more like a organizational intellectual meeting, planning meeting, then necessarily going into that specifics of that issue so much. And as you know, the morning session is dignified livelihood, and our Bedri district, they are the border district of your constituency. So we want all 4 districts of your constituency and all the border districts up to Mahendragarh, which is not so so we have this kind of bottom-up planning, and there is for various practical limitations we could not reach you. Puranji, after our meeting in which you had that time also kindly chaired and spoken at length about Dalit issues, after that we had series of meetings here as well as in Kathmandu, and Puran Dayalji has prepared a detailed position paper for bottom-up planning for the artisan community dignified livelihood. That's in Nepali. I believe you understand Nepali. But we are translating that into English and Hindi both. And so this is in that sequence in which you have been critical leader with us. So today session will have round of introduction, and then Manoj will conduct today's proceedings. Why don't you come? Okay, this is fine, it's round table. So, and in that first your introductory remarks, and then our 3 colleagues from Nepal, 2 colleagues from Nepal, Manoj is conducting in any case. So we go about it, and let's go, let's see how it goes. And the languages used are Hindi and English. Our Nepali friends are quite comfortable in Hindi, and they speak more beautiful Hindi because it's rainbow Hindi, it has Betadi, and in it has Hindi in it, and it has Nepali in it. Himalayan Hindi. Yeah. So Himalayan Hindi and English both can be used. So maybe we first start with the introduction. So I'm reintroducing myself. My name is Vijay Pratap, and I work with SEDET since 2001, from its very beginning. And I live in JNU, and SEDET office is on the second floor of Munirka Bata shop, the only Bata shop in Munirka village, where Pradeep Tamtaji has not been so far. So we expect him to come soonest possible, depending on his routine. Chaliye.
Ritu Priya. I have been part of the People's Health Movement with Medico Friends Circle, Jan Swasthya Abhiyan, and other networks working on health issues in the country, and I teach public health in Jawaharlal Nehru University. I am also part of SEDET and Vasudhaiv.
Good morning, namaskar. My name is Jana Vormista. I am currently the director of Siemenpuu Foundation. Just briefly, Siemenpuu Foundation was established in 1998 in Finland by 15 NGOs, Finnish NGOs and foundations who are working with the issues related to environment and development. And Siemenpuu Foundation supports their southern partners, organizations, social movements, and research institutes dealing with, well, ecological democracy, environmental protection, and different environmental threats. And our funding comes from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Finland. And we started our funding activities in 2002. We have here in India, we are supporting SADET, and we have two other big cooperation programs, or well, relatively big cooperation programs. And then we have programs also in Indonesia, Mekong region, Mali, Latin America, and then we have separate projects, smaller projects in different countries. Together, we are supporting currently around 100 projects in 25 countries. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm really looking forward to the discussions of today. Thank you.
सभी को मेरा नमस्कार। मैं जीत गायतराज नेपाल से, खासकर मैं दलित कम्युनिटी से रिलेटेड हूँ और पिछले काफ़ी सालों से दलित क्षेत्र में मैंने दलित एक्टिविस्ट की भूमिका निभाई है। तो आयोजक विजय प्रताप जी ने स्थानीय स्तर पर जो मुद्दे हैं, जो हिमालयन क्षेत्र में और खासकर भारत और नेपाल के बॉर्डर में देखे गए साझे मुद्दों पर किस तरह बहस चलाया जा सकता है, किस तरह एक साझा एजेंडा बनाया जा सकता है, इस पर एक वैचारिक वार्ता के लिए और भावी सहकार्य के कार्यक्रम के लिए बुलाया था। और आयोजक महोदय को धन्यवाद देते हुए मेरा अपना परिचय देता हूँ।
मेरा नाम असित है, मैं SEDET में रिसर्चर हूँ।
इन चीज़ों पे काम कर रहे हैं थोड़ा बता।
हालांकि मेरा रिसर्च वर्क एग्रीकल्चर और फार्मर्स रेजिस्टेंस मूवमेंट पे है, लेकिन वो व्यापक चीज़ों को छूता है, जैसे कि फूड क्राइसिस, मतलब इसके थ्योरेटिकल डायमेंशंस और इंटरनेशनल एग्री बिजनेस, GM फूड वगैरह वगैरह पे। इसके अलावा जो हिंदुस्तान में पेजेंट रेजिस्टेंस मूवमेंट चल रहा है उनकी सॉलिडरिटी काम में भी ज्यादातर रिसर्च से ज्यादा उसी में समय लगाता हूँ.
My name is Klaus Voll. I give advice to a think tank of social democrats in Brussels on India and South Asia, presumably. I'm living here in the country since nearly 30 years.
And friend of our, very close friend of our socialist ideologue, Surenmo, who died December last year.
मैं प्रदीप टमटा लोकसभा का सदस्य हूँ. इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस पार्टी से मैं जुड़ा हूँ. हिमालय के सवालों पर शुरू से ही अपने विद्यार्थी से जीवन से मेरे सरोकार रहा है और हिमालय के सवालों पे सवाल उठते उठते जो मेरी एक इंडिविजुअल आइडेंटिटी है जिसकी डायमेंशन बहुत बड़ी है, हिंदुस्तान में भी है, नेपाल में भी है, उसका सोशल, उससे मैं धीरे धीरे सामाजिक जीवन से सक्रिय रहते उस पर भी आया और दलित सवालों से भी जुड़ा हुआ रहा हूँ. मैं विजय जी का और मनोज जी का आभारी हूँ कि उन्होंने दोनों ने मुझे इस मेन स्ट्रीम में जोड़े का. आज मैं हिमालय हम सबका सरोकार है, पूरी दुनिया का सरोकार है, सिर्फ हमारे उत्तराखंड का नहीं उसमें. और नेपाल से इसलिए बहुत दिलचस्पी हुई कि नेपाल यहाँ पर आए हैं मित्र लोग, उसमें मेरे ही सीमाओं से जुड़े हुए हैं. उसमें मेरी जो संवैधानिक कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी है लोकसभा सीट बैतरणी और पिथौरागढ़ के बीच में रिश्ते. नेपाल के तो प्राइम मिनिस्टर हमारे पिथौरागढ़ कॉलेज से जो मेरा क्षेत्र है वहीं से पढ़ करके वो नेपाल के प्रधानमंत्री तक बने.
चंद और देवभाजी
चंद. और उसके बाद आजकल भी नेपाल का कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बन भी रहा है तो उसमें नेपाल के दलितों का जो सवाल है चर्चा दुनिया में सब जगह है. नेपाल की कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की हिंदुस्तान में भी है, लेकिन जो वहाँ का जो सबसे डिप्रेस क्लास है उसके हालात पर, उनके सवालों पर हिंदुस्तान में भी कहीं चर्चा नहीं है, दुनिया में बहुत दूर है. इसलिए मैं बहुत इंडिविजुअल रूप से मैंने कहा दोनों मौके में मिलेंगे. मैं प्रदीप
जी, अगर वो आपके यहाँ से पढ़े हैं चंद जी, तो we must organize a parliamentarian delegation, meet him and have a padayatra in your constituency and there on Jati Todo, some Samajik Samta mission, because Chands are very repressive, dominant caste there against Dalits. So I was planning to do it through Devbaji, but his personal record is supposed to be better. उसने कुछ इंट्रोड्यूस किया था कास्ट लेके. आई डोंट रिकॉल द डिटेल्स. ऐसा कुछ था ना जी उनके समय में, समथिंग सम मेजर ही हैज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड.
यहाँ से दो सा एक और नया सवाल है जिसमें बैतरणी के मेरे साथी लोग भी काफी यूज रहेंगे. हम लोग क्या सोच रहे हैं महाकाली पर जो पंचेश्वर है वो आज दुनिया के सामने एक नए सवाल के रूप में. मेरे देश में भी हमारे लोग भी क्या सोचते हैं, भारत की सरकार क्या सोचती है, नेपाल की सरकार क्या सोचती है, हम सब लोग क्या सोचते हैं, उस पर भी एक बहस हो सकती है.
There is a good news for you. When you shared the dais with Honorable Constituent Assembly Member Poon Singh Dayal ji last time, till that time he was for Pancheshwar Dam, and then we had a informal discussion at length. And now he is not actively for it. He will join you in opposing that is yet to be seen. So you need another round of discussion with him. We had, after your meeting, he had come home and we had long discussion on that. Rajanji is his secretary also, so he can tell us the latest position of honorable member.
नमस्कार, मैं राजेंद्र दयाल. खास करके मैं दलितों के हक अधिकार के मुद्दों पर काम करते हैं हम लोग, और हम विजय प्रताप जी के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं जो हिमालय रेंज के दलितों के लिए, दलितों के मुद्दों के विषय में हम संफल या सीरीज चला रहे हैं. उसमें जहाँ तक पंचेश्वर की बात माननीय जी ने कहा, तो उसमें हम उस क्षेत्र के होने के नाते एक हमने उसमें ये देखा है कि अगर पंचेश्वर बन जाता है तो उससे हमारा विकास हो सकता है इकोलॉजिकल के हिसाब से, चाहे वो अगर मतलब नेगेटिव भी हो फिर भी मतलब कि हमने बहुत बड़ी आशा जगाई हुई है कि अगर वो पंचेश्वर प्रोजेक्ट बनता है तो उसके हमको बहुत फायदा है, बनना चाहिए करके वहाँ की पब्लिक सब लगी हुई है। और मैं दलित एक्टिविस्ट हूँ। धन्यवाद।
Good morning, one and all. This is Sheikh Shoaib. I'm the National Secretary for Students Islamic Organization of India, SIO. This to put forth before you, SIO is a national organization working the last 30 years in India, in campuses and in society, basically with the motto of preparing students and youth for reconstruction of society. When we say reconstruction, obviously it's in the lines of better society, for a social change and different issues. Mainly, SIO was working on education issues, but apart from that, all social issues in the society wherein youth should be the major part of any activism is concerned. SIO has always been taking up those issues, whether national or international.
Mine to one and all. This is Syed Yunus from Student Islamic Organization of India.
Where from? Your own province?
Hyderabad. Maybe.
You follow Hindi?
Yes.
Definitely Hindi or any Hindi? Delhi Hindi also.
नमस्कार, मेरा नाम सदर आलम है। मैं दिल्ली में जो शहरी मजदूर हैं उनके साथ काम करता हूँ। इसका एक रिश्ता जो बिहार के बाढ़ के कारण जो पलायन हुए मजदूर हैं उनसे भी होता है।
Urban poor and migration due to floods in Nepal.
नमस्कार जी, मेरा नाम तहसीन भंडारी है।
अंग्रेजी में परिचय दे दो दोनों मेहमानों को।
I'm feeling quite comfortable in Hindi.
No, you make your speech in Hindi. I will translate.
मैं अभी प्रदीप भाई ने कहा कि मैं अभी मेरे वहाँ से कोई नहीं आया है, लेकिन मैं प्रदीप भाई को याद दिलाना चाहता हूँ कि मैं आपका वोटर भी हूँ और आपके साथ एक क्षेत्र से मैं बनमसा से हूँ और आपसे तो कई बार बैठ हो चुकी है, कई बार बनमसा जब आते हैं तो मिलते ही। और उत्तरांचल विकास संस्थान हमारी संस्था है जो बहुत पुरानी संस्था है। हम लगभग 32 साल से वहाँ काम कर रहे हैं और जो हमें जानने वाले हैं सबसे पुराने वो मेरे मित्र यहाँ नरेंद्र जी बैठे हुए हैं जो सबसे पुराने मेरे मित्र हैं और आप मेरे पास आते रहे हैं। पहले TDH के थे, कोऑर्डिनेटर थे, तो हमारे पास आते रहे। उत्तरांचल विकास संस्थान बनमसा में हम भूमि के अधिकारों को लेकर के हमने जब काम शुरू किया तो उसके साथ साथ फिर हमारा क्योंकि नेपाल बॉर्डर पर स्थित है और नेपाल के लिए एंट्री पॉइंट मेन वही है, तो हमारा नेपाली ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ भी बहुत करीब का संबंध है। आप लोगों से शायद इतना संबंध नहीं होगा, लेकिन हमारे जो महेंद्र नगर में और जो फार वेस्टर्न रीजन में जो संस्थाएं काम कर रही हैं उनके साथ हमारा बहुत घनिष्ठ संबंध है। और क्रॉस बॉर्डर इश्यूज़ के ऊपर अभी हमने एक अध्ययन भी किया है इसके ऊपर, क्योंकि मुझे जल्दी मुझे पता मैंने आपको बुलाया इसलिए हम ला नहीं पाया उसको, लेकिन हमने माइग्रेशन के ऊपर हमने एक अध्ययन किया। माइग्रेशन को HIV एड्स को फोकस करते हुए हमने एक अध्ययन किया है। तो हमने जब अध्ययन करते करते हमने ये पाया है कि बनमसा बॉर्डर से लगभग नेपाल के जो माइग्रेंट्स हैं वो कम से कम 3 लाख लोग जो हैं हर साल इस तरफ भारत में आते हैं और कुछ 2-3 महीनों के बाद काम करने के बाद वापस चले जाते हैं और फिर आवागमन उस तरह से आता रहता है। लेकिन मैंने उनका हमारा जैसे वहाँ की जो एजेंसीज हैं, इंटेलिजेंस एजेंसीज हैं, उनके साथ भी हमारा एक संपर्क, एक कोऑर्डिनेशन है और उस कोऑर्डिनेशन के आधार पर हम ये कह सकते हैं कि लगभग 3.5 लाख नेपाली माइग्रेंट्स जो है वो भारत प्रवेश करते हैं और कुछ दिनों के बाद वो आते जाते रहते हैं, आवागमन होता है। तो उनके साथ जो बॉर्डर के ऊपर जो अत्याचार होता है, बॉर्डर के ऊपर जो अन्याय होता है,